In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss why scientists are leaving X and Meta platforms for Blue Sky, and we ponder if it's time to start creating our own digital platforms and communities where we own the relationship with our followers. We discuss the Black-owned social media platform Fanbase and why its founder / CEO are trending for all the wrong reasons. And we've got a guest for you this week. We talk with Richard Hicks, CEO of Inspiredu, a Georgia-based nonprofit working on bridging the gaps in device ownership, digital literacy, and digital access with Georgia's most marginalized citizens. We got all this and more for you in episode 167 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech, aka We Are the Champions. My son just entered or successfully completed his first soccer tournament, and they won all the way through. So they were the champions of their tournament, and it's equally impressive because they called my son up to the majors, quotes. He's in a younger age bracket of his group, and there's a lower age rank. I think it's all school year, based on age, that sort of thing. But they've got a younger group and then the older group, a little bit bigger, a little bit older, as you can imagine. My coach called my son, who's a little bit smaller, but he's got about to hit his growth spurt, called him up to the big leagues to play in this tournament, and he was a major contributor, scored a couple goals. Got a bunch of stops.
Goals, okay.
Yeah, got a couple goals, got a couple stops, and his team was crowned champion. So I want to believe them calling my son up was turning point.
Totally.
To get them the championship. So, he got his little medal, made him feel like a champion all day long on Sunday. So he's been chilling with his medal on for the past couple days. So yeah, definitely send a shout out to my son.
Need you to take it off to go to the shower.
Yep. And a shout out to my daughter, my oldest. She turned 17 this past weekend. So I'm gonna say happy birthday to my oldest. So that's all that's going on in the Brother Tech family.
Well, happy birthday to your daughter.
Nice.
And congratulations to Young Champion Gaines for winning that tournament and sounds like being a superstar up in that joker.
Superstar. Yep.
Yeah. So, y'all, before we get to the tech stories, we want to mention a few folks. Last week we actually put our flowers, our call outs for a new patron right at the top of the show. And I was looking at some patrons who have been with us, who have been supporting the show for over 40 months. So I just want to shout out a few folks. Sheree TW, who is literally hanging out with us as we record the show in our live stream. Norm Fazekas, Jeff Steinhauer, and DD Phillips just are a few of the folks who have been holding the show down. So once again, if you would like to support the show like these four have been literally for 3.5 years, you can do so by heading over to thetechjohn.com/Patreon. That's thetechjawn.com/Patreon, where we've got multiple tiers, any one of which will get you access to our live stream and our after party. And ultimately, anything that you do goes a long way to help us bring this tech to you the way that we bring it to you. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into some of these tech stories. And the first one here is one that I threw in a rundown. And it was an interesting article from the Daily, where it was talking about scientists are transitioning away from X and Meta and moving over to platforms like Blue Sky and Mastodon, and basically social media platforms that aren't run by a big company and that are open source, because the conversation there just seems to be a little bit better. And what's interesting about this article is that it said basically particularly with Twitter, now X, that it was almost as soon as Elon Musk took the platform over, the things just started going left. It was just not conducive for scientists to put their information out, because you had people that were debating not about the science, but debating about whether or not, things that are provably true are true or not. And it was just a bad place to be. So I kind of wanted to start the conversation about that and see how these folks are moving over to these other platforms. And also, should we be thinking about doing some of the same things?
Well, yes. The short answer, that nothing about that surprises me. I think we all kind of knew what was going to happen with Twitter, which I'm going to continue to call it. It just, it is what it is. I appreciate the idea of the sort of protocols that Blue Sky is built off of. Like I said, I think I've mentioned on the show before that I'm a supporter of Black Sky, which is its own separate sort of server on the platform with a dedicated group of team that administers and does all of the moderation and everything
Mhm.
else for the platform and things like that. So, I'm a fan. The only thing though is I wonder, and it's not, I guess, anybody specific responsibility to do this, but I do wonder about the vacuum that kind of thing leaves on these other platforms because yes, I want everybody to be able to feel safe and to be able to exchange their ideas freely without a bunch of people piling on and trying to dox them and whatever else they're uh, ridiculous people try to do. But we also still need voices on these other, like, voices of reason, if you will. And don't get me wrong, I ain't on Twitter neither. And I have no plans to go back there, while Musk is still in charge of it, So I get it, but I do feel like, we risk that vacuum where truth and fact and everything just ceases to exist on these platforms, which just drives all the rest of those people even further down, the rabbit holes they're already in.
Yeah, I would say protect your peace, but at the same time, I don't know why. Two things, right? Number one, I don't know why people think that leaving one platform and moving on to another platform, especially when we're talking about facts, especially when we're talking about science, like highly contestable, even though it shouldn't be. Science is science. There's some, what they call them, uh, uh, unalienable truths. What's the word?
Unalienable,
Yeah, is that right?
inalienable. I think it's
Inalienable.
inalienable. Yeah.
There are some truthy truths.
Undisputable,
Yes, there are some.
indisputable,
Yes,
undisputable, all that.
yes, there are some facts that are just facts. But outside of that, when you're talking about science, when you're talking about religion, when you're talking about politics, even when you're talking about race, people are just going to argue regardless. So for scientists to feel like, oh, tired of arguing about, regular facts or whatever the case may be, and you go over to another platform, cross your fingers that the other grass is greener on the other side. Again, Blue
True.
Sky is something new. Mastodon is something new. Threads, for lack of a better term, is something new. So people feel like they flock from the old, thinking the new is going to be this utopia. Well, the problem with all the movies, the problem in all the shows is humans are the problem. And if you're going from one platform to another platform thinking, oh, those people will be different, look, be warned, be careful if
Mhm.
your bubbles burst. I ain't saying it's gonna happen, but going over thinking, oh, everything's gonna be sweet, and it's not, then you may run and say, oh man, where can I
Human
go?
nature being what it is.
Right now, having said
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
try your best. You definitely should, like I mentioned, protect your peace. If you feel like Twitter, or the people on Twitter rather are making it hard for you to coexist with them, move. We as Black folks, we are constantly talking about where Black folks should go, air quotes, on the internet, whether it be social media or otherwise. So we're always, on the lookout for something, the bigger, better deal. But maybe even in that case, maybe we need to create that place, not wait for the place to exist, right? So hopefully maybe these scientists are going over to Blue Sky and all these other threads, say, you know what, I'm going to do my part and make it a good place, unlike, whatever else they left.
So I don't want to make it seem like there were zero issues with people being able to say things and just, being 100% safe. If there's a such thing on the internet, I don't know that such a thing exists. So I don't want to make it seem like, well, before Twitter turned into X, that it was just all, everything was just happy. Everybody's just shaking hands and it was all kumbaya. So I don't want to put it out there like that. But there was a perceivable difference in just how things worked. And to your point, Terrance, it's like, here's the thing. Blue Sky itself, even though it's using a federated protocol, basically it's open source-ish. It's something that no one person can control. Steph, you mentioned Black Sky, which is its own server with its own moderators and its own rules. They're using even a little bit of AI to go and figure out what kind of post, they're not allowing misogyny to show up on the platform, at least within that feed. Those kind of things are different. But if someone was to come and say, hey, how about $47.7 billion for your company? I'm pretty sure the blue sky would say sold, just like X did, just like Twitter
Absolutely.
did. So you potentially could have some of the same types of situations. And, you know, and the reason I kind of stuck two different stories together, because the other part is just a conversation that we're now having about, should we really start looking at our own platforms and just owning the relationship? Because part of the problem that people are having with with X, with things, Thread, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, from the Meta platforms, it's not just that there's all this stuff on here that I have to navigate through about, I just don't want to have to deal with these people, but also these are algorithmically driven platforms. And those algorithms may not have our best interest in mind. They ultimately are trying to make the most amount of money that they possibly can. So if they figure that, hey, Stephanie dropped some gems, but that don't really help us make money, that content could be buried. But this person said this thing that is.
Let me break in there. Couldn't you make the case for Black Sky being its own platform?
You could. But like I said, here's the example that I give. What happens to Black Sky if somebody says, "Hey, Blue Sky, here's $44.7 billion"?
It's integrated in as far as like the API allows you to access Black Sky from the Blue Sky app, but because it exists on its own server, it is still its own entity. So it would just need to be, they would have to do the work of creating their own app and interface and everything else, which I think they may be able to do. I don't know.
Towards doing, yeah.
Yeah, they haven't started doing it because, if you don't have to do it, then, but I think you get there, and I think they should start doing it, truthfully. They absolutely should start working on their own UX. And I haven't looked back into the account that runs Black Sky, because I'm sure they've been posting updates there. I think that's probably where they should be going. But by and large, it is its own thing for all intents and purposes.
It absolutely is its own thing. And I would just say this, that it's its own thing that is run by people. And you could still, if you are banking on, I want to put my trust and I want to put my content in this thing that is run by people are fallible. So my point is that, should you just be making sure that you are able to have a relationship with people that you want to have a relationship with without having to go through a third party? Whether that be Blue Sky, Black Sky,
we say Threads, that every week on this
exactly.
Podcast.
So, so one of the things that I'm thinking is that it's like, man, I think about what happened with, with TikTok, and how many people were just, I don't know what to do. My life is over because I was off of TikTok for, I think, 16 hours and 12 minutes. And I was just going to have to give it up and start all over if they didn't come back. And these very people that saw what can happen if somebody hits the off switch on a social media platform, these very people literally a month ago are now, it's all back and we're back to the same thing. And it's like, are we really? It's not all good. It's like, you don't own the relationship with your people the way you think you do. They are allowing you to access the people, or allowing people to access you. You're putting good content out there and they're rewarding you for it. But at any time they could decide, you know what, we don't rock with you anymore. We're going to make a change, and your content is just no longer being seen.
And I get that, and I agree, and I don't disagree with you. However, I will push back just a little bit. Now, I agree that if you're a content creator, or if you're making a living on the internet in any way, shape, or form, you should be driving people back to digital properties that you own in some form or fashion, whether you're collecting emails for a newsletter, you got a website, whatever that looks like, whatever kind of bare minimum thing you can do to drive traffic back to a digital property you own, you should be doing that, whatever that looks like. However, everybody, none of us, I won't say none of us, but the vast majority of us are not in a position to create a social media platform. So you also have to take advantage of what's there in the moment. If it's
And
TikTok right now, then it's TikTok. If it's something else tomorrow, then it becomes that something else. But you have to be able to balance both of those things. So I don't want people to hear this podcast and think that I need to get off TikTok because it could go away tomorrow. No, stay on TikTok and get your bag, but also think ahead about what else you can do to set yourself up.
If I gave that impression, that was not the impression that I was hoping to give. It was like, I just don't want you to only be on TikTok. If TikTok goes away, what do? I don't want you to only be on Threads or only be on Blue Sky or only be on Mastodon or only be on these other things, because ultimately you don't control those platforms. Someone else does. And this is not so much for the person who is just on social media and just using social media. I would say that's probably 92% of all the people that are on it. I'm talking about the folks who's trying to make a living off of this. It's like you have created a job for yourself in creating content that people rock with, and you are monetizing that. And if you're just allowing the relationship to exist, with X, to just exist with Meta, to just exist with any of these other platforms, and you're not catching an email address, you're not putting somebody into your own Slack channel or your own Discord or something where they're not, algorithmically driven, I just think that you're kind of missing it. And, and I would hope that what has happened with TikTok, and what technically is still happening with TikTok, because TikTok, even though you can get it, it doesn't look any different than it did 2 months ago. It is technically still gone
in 90 days.
It could be gone in 90 days. So
I'm
just hoping that folks,
the last word.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we feel like social media is like a intro or a gateway to new opportunities, i.e. creating content for yourself or generating income. There are some people, maybe I'm starting to get this way as well, to where I just want to be social on social media. And if TikTok goes away or Twitter goes away, there are a lot of people that are just like, hey man, I just want to converse with like-minded people wherever they may be. And if that ain't on Twitter no more, or if that ain't on TikTok no more, if that ain't on Blue Sky, whatever the case may be, there are a lot of people that are just okay with that. And I think we in our society of, everything is everything's at an angle or a hustle.
Everything is a hustle.
Yeah. Everything is a freebie. The first hit's free, and then after that, sign up, click up, join my this and that and the third. I think that does take some magic out of social media, which is why people are so geared towards creating content and also being on platforms that drive a lot of content. And all you're doing is just putting content up. You're not, you've evolved from, I'm just hanging out with like-minded people, to, all right, I need to create this perfect post in order to get all these likes and followers. So then I can push them to this.
Follow up with my engagement, and I got to respond to every comment, and I got to, And I think we elevate content creators too much. Because I think, to your point, Terrance, the large majority of people on social media are just there to watch and to scroll and to lurk, if you will. So, but the fact still remains, there are people doing well and making a living and stuff like that, and they need to be prepared for whatever. Be
more strategic.
Yes, be strategic.
So staying on
Speaking of which,
staying on social media. Steph, you brought this to my attention. I don't know, Terrance, if you had heard about it before, but I started looking at what was happening between Isaac Hayes and Franchesca Ramsey on pretty much whatever social media platform except for Fanbase, which Isaac Hayes is the founder of. But to make a long story, I want to let you explain it because you probably have seen more about it. But all I know is this: is like Isaac Hayes, bruh, just be quiet. Just stop
talking.
Just stop talking.
It's insane. It's really insane. So I follow Franchesca Ramsey on TikTok.
For those who don't know who she is, if you've heard the song, I didn't know the leopard was going to eat my face.
The leopard would eat my face. And to put a little respect on her name. She's been in the game for years, like over a decade. She started off with, I think, like a web series on YouTube of her own. She went on to write for MTV and a whole host of other television shows. She had her own show on MTV called MTV Decoded back in the day. So she got receipts, like multiple receipts. She's been in the business for a very long time. Doing her thing, you know what I mean, making it happen, yada yada yada. So I follow her on TikTok. I enjoy her content. You know, she gives good tips about the business and the industry in general. But she became, you know, popular to the kids for that song, "The Leopards Would Eat My." I never thought the leopards would eat my face. So back in 2022, Isaac Hayes III invited her to be on Fanbase. He slid into her DMs, was like, "Yo, been watching you, seeing what you're doing, yada yada yada." She declined. And I don't know when it came back around about why she declined, but a recent video of hers was and she may have made this previously, but I think it may be resurfaced or something, but she basically was like, "I'm not going to be supporting stuff just because it's Black owned." You know what I mean? If it's not good, if I don't think I can add any value to it or get any value from it, I'm not going to support it solely because it's a Black owned platform, which she is well within her rights to do. And so between that and you know, there's a couple little sticking points I have on both sides of this issue that I'll get to, but between that and then she started talking about how, because Isaac Hayes posted something about the idea around social media and YouTube and digital spaces being the new television. And he was like, if you know, kids only care about Drake and Kai Cenat, and he named this other guy, Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross. And, you know, you need to get on board and yada, yada, yada. She took that as his endorsement of those people, which I think was probably not necessarily 100% correct of her to do. But
it's just like, a statement. These are the hot
yeah. And that's how I took his, because I went and read his post where he mentioned those names, and I just took it as he's like, these are the people that are hot. Get on board or get left behind, because these are the people that are doing it, and you can see how they're doing it and how they're successful doing it. She took that as he was standing for these three people who all three of whom are very problematic.
And he mentioned DJ Academics and a couple other people
who has gotten all allegations of grooming recently.
All of those people that she mentions or he mentions are a little problematic.
Hella problematic. They're more than a little problematic. They're very problematic. So she connected him with those people in a way that I don't think he was intending to be connected to those people. So she was like, besides the fact that your platform is trash, and you also stand for these people, I ain't messing with you. He gets in his feelings about what she says.
Boy, did he.
And created a 16 slide carousel about why she wasn't the one, why she's not like us. He put a picture of her ex-husband, who is white, in the thing and called her out, and you ain't even Black enough to be making this comment, and yada yada yada. I mean, he crashed out, as the kids say, like literally crashed out. So they went back and forth for a little while. All the Black women came to her defense. Not all, because I've seen some women on his posts, you know, co-signing his stuff. But a lot of Black women came to her support. He claimed he lost some investment money behind this whole thing. Like, people were rescinding their investment offers and canceling their investment offers behind this. So either today or yesterday, he put out a quote unquote apology video that was almost as bad as the crash out in the first place, basically saying, I did it, but she made me do it, and I can't be responsible for how I respond when somebody attacks me and criticizes me. And it was just so left and just so no accountability taken whatsoever for what he did. This is not the first time he has attacked a Black woman for criticizing his platform. And so he's being very disingenuous about the whole thing, I think, and he just needs to really do some self-reflection and take some real accountability for his part in this whole thing. Because I'm like, you're a whole CEO. You've been the CEO of this platform for a long time. You can't take no criticism about your platform?
And that's what I was going to say. Or take the L and keep it moving.
Take
Because
the
Yeah.
if you are trying to build something that you claim is bigger than this stuff that you're currently in right now, you're going to have to grin and bear it. There's a thing called punching down, which it gives off the impression is what he's
Right.
doing. He's attacking, her, thinking that, maybe I can, not necessarily bully is not the right word, but she ain't all that as much as she thinks she is. So let me
He
show
wanted
her a
to try
thing
to
or
like humble
two.
her or something. I
Yeah,
don't know, but
and I
it
don't think it
wasn't the
worked
move.
because
No.
No, it did not
because
work. It did not work.
she is as big as Stephanie built her out to be as far as her influence, and it's just the whole. My bad, y'all, but we got to come together. We bigger than this. It's like, man, but
Right.
y'all,
Now you want
you
to try to
started it.
sweep it under
Yeah.
the rug and maybe,
Yeah.
and also try to like blame her because he's like, well, when you claim misogynoir, that puts
That has
people
an
in
effect. Yeah.
dangerous positions. I'm like,
Yeah.
you mean kind of like the position you put her and her ex-husband in, who didn't
Yeah.
have nothing to do with this?
It's
but
like
now
that dude
getting
is like,
attacked.
what I got to do? Why is my face all over the internet all of a sudden? What I got?
Why is my
We
name
ain't
in
been
your
together
mouth?
for 6 years. What is going on? And it's like she Franchesca actually said, it's like I don't. There's no love lost between me and my ex-husband. But it's not fair to him that his
At
face is
all.
now plastered all over the internet
At
for
all.
something that me and some other dude, some
He didn't
owner of
have
a company
nothing
is
to do
happening. It's
with
like it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have said on this show, in fact, I think it hasn't probably even been 6 weeks where we're talking about fan base, because I would love for fan base to win. It's a black owned, it's a black owned platform. It's at least 50.1% black owned.
And I think that's go ahead, Rob.
And I would like to see it win, but some of the things we were saying, it's like, man, the interface is rough. I'm trying to support it, but it's like, come on, bro, help me help you, help me get on your platform and actually be able to easily find content that I'm looking for without having to get exasperated and just bounce and just be out. And but we've tailored it. We haven't gone in super hard because like we want you to succeed if you can succeed. But I will say this is like I see Isaac Hayes III all over Threads, all over Facebook, all over Instagram, all over these other platforms that is not his, talking about, I need you to come and become a founder, to basically become an investor, raising money. And it's like, okay, that's cool. You're raising all this money, but who's running the company to fix all these things that you have legitimate people who are using your platform who are saying, bruh, this does not work.
We can't do this. We can't do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you crash out like this.
And it's crazy because I literally just posted a video because back when the TikTok ban was imminent and it had gone down, I had done a few different segments on news channels about alternatives to TikTok. And we talked about Red Note was popping at the time and yada, yada, yada. And a lot of people had asked me about black owned apps and fan base in particular. So I had done a video a while back, I think, probably right after we talked about it on the show, because in the video I say we talked about this on my podcast last week and blah 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 blah, and I had just posted because I hadn't edited it or posted it yet, but I had just posted it like 2 or 3 days like before all of this happened. Now I'm like, dang, I gotta go back and take that video or put another video up with a disclaimer, and I was like, come on, man.
To be fair, like you mentioned, Steph, Jessica does show some not Jessica, I'm sorry.
Franchesca.
Yeah, Franchesca. I'm sorry.
Franchesca with an H in her name, because the other thing that's problematic is the bro would not say her name right. And he knows what her name is. It's like there's no question that he did not know what her name was.
Right. So to be fair, she was throwing shade at his platform. And she was I know, but that whole, if she really wants it to win or whatever the case may be, she doesn't have to advocate for the platform ad nauseum, but also she doesn't, I felt like she was being, trying to throw a little shade because her thing was, in my understanding was, see, I told y'all don't support everything black because X, Y, and Z, that sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but she could have very easily just moved on, but being a content creator, this is what drives content, and obviously it does because we're talking about it. So, I get it. I can see why he felt like he had to respond, and it's coming from somebody like Franchesca, to where if she says something,
He
people are going to
absolutely
move.
could have responded. I would
He didn't have to
expect
do it
him
like
to,
this.
because he does that all the time. But
Mhm.
he ain't had to go there. He ain't had to do it like that. He ain't
So
had to
here's
do
the
it
thing.
like that.
If you are the CEO of a multi-million-dollar social media platform, you simply, unless you have billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, you just can't respond however you're feeling in the moment.
No.
Well, maybe
Because
And he
somebody
should-
called
and
you
he
out, so
should
you're
know
just
better.
going to. So it's like, okay, she took me here. I'm going straight to the hottest part of hell on how I respond. You can't do that
he
as
should
a
know
CEO.
better.
He crashed out. He shouldn't have done that. He needs to have an HR firm on a PR retainer. Not an HR firm, a PR firm on retainer, so that when somebody comes to him like this, you don't respond. You get the people that you pay to be expert in responding to this kind of stuff to respond, because, Adam Mosseri, who was the head of Instagram and, in the head of Threads, this dude probably has all kind of crazy stuff coming at him every single day from way more folks than Isaac Hayes ever has. And you've never seen him respond like that. It's like, hey team, y'all take care of this. How do you want me to, what do you want me to say in this video to get past this? Because it's going kind of viral. That's what Isaac Hayes needs to do here. And the other part of it is that in his response, you weren't just trying to respond. You were trying to get your digs in, because he was being cruel in the way he was doing it. And that's what a lot of people are looking at. It's like, bruh, that's not the right move. Even if you think you're right, what can you possibly gain from being cruel in this way?
And see, the bad part about it is when you do something like this, other people bring their receipts up as well. There are so many other women now, like, showing screenshots of text exchanges and DM exchanges, and they like, look, I was there with him when he did X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? So it's just not a good look for him. No, any way you cut it, it's not a good look for him in any way.
Or respond how you gonna respond, but be okay with it, right?
Right.
Too many times,
stand on business.
People
be okay
respond. People respond.
There are probably very significant percentages of people who have just canceled their fan base account.
A lot of people,
and that's it. Because and it is solely because of not what she said, but how you responded multiple times, with 16-page documents of how you responded. Is not going to do it. But y'all, we can talk about this kind of stuff forever, but we're not. You know why? You know why we're not going to talk about it? Because we have a guest on the show today. If you was listening to the intro, we have a guest that we're going to bring right to the stage right now. Tech Life Steph, can you go ahead and introduce Richard Hicks, the CEO?
So Richard Hicks is the CEO and president of Inspiredu, as well as a transformational nonprofit leader and speaker committed to improving opportunities for children and helping families improve their socioeconomic status. For over a decade, the tech specialist contributed to the national education nonprofit Power My Learning as the executive director of the Atlanta region. Traveling on behalf of the national brand, he wanted to concentrate more on the digital literacy of Georgia's minorities and low-income families. So he gathered the most extraordinary leaders on their local team and empowered them to join him in launching the spinoff nonprofit Inspiredu to continue to serve the communities in Georgia. In the last year alone, that same team has distributed 2,297 devices to serve the community. He and his team have also carried on a mission to keep the environment safe by diverting 5,824 laptops from Atlanta landfills in 2023. Richard serves on the executive advisory board for Atlanta Technology Professionals and the advisory board for the Consort Institute at Clark Atlanta University. He was named Man of the Year at the STEMinist Awards held at Atlanta's notable Fox Theater, and his relentless passion for expanding tech opportunities for families in Georgia is evident in the results of his life's work. Richard Hicks, welcome to the Tech John. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you all for having me. It is so great to be able to talk more about this work. And I love the passion around the conversation. As I was listening to him, I was like, man, I want to dive in now.
See? We told you.
I tell you, this is good to be able to have that dialogue. Conversations spur everything. And everything starts with being able to say, look, we got to advocate for folks being able to get the education that they deserve. And our whole country is built off of education. And now we've evolved to more technology being on the forefront of that. And we're seeing how the interwoven things around social media, jobs of tomorrow, and even some of the evolution of our economies and community is going to involve technology being at the forefront.
Absolutely, absolutely. But let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to school, and if you always had sort of this community-centric service sort of mindset.
Yeah, so my origin goes to Milledgeville, Georgia. People don't know Milledgeville is the former capital of Georgia, so it ain't always been Atlanta.
I did not know that.
Is the second capital. So Atlanta is where the home of Inspiredu, but my home goes down to Milledgeville, Georgia, in the roots. And the Hickses have always been known to help the community. We're descendants from slaves, and our family has always been sort of a engineer type of family, and even a forward thinking. The community in Milledgeville always said the Hickses, would have something to eat for you. And they would go out there, and the Hickses would always have farms. We were farmers. We still have our farm, which has been passed down through the years, and that's the farm I live on. And caretake, I have animals there. They're my I have goats and a donkey, and it's a great way to kind of stay near to the roots. We have our original home that was built by the hands of my ancestors, my grandfather and others. It's over 200 years old, and it still has sort of the not the technology. We put technology in it now, but it's got sort of that framework of forward thinking, because they put a lot of things that were built in there that they didn't have available at the time, but my family made sure that they built it the right way so that it could be sort of that house that can house different generations. So our generation is there now, and this allows us to be able to stay close to the roots as we're going through the years. And Black History Month means a lot to us, because whenever I'm up there at that home, I think about how my ancestors had to struggle to get as far as they did so that the Hickses could be standing here doing this good work within the community.
So Richard, in the green room, we were talking, and I was just saying some of the stuff that you guys are doing over with, Inspiredu. It's the Lord's work, and so could you just tell our listeners about the program, about the organization that you are the CEO of?
Inspiredu, we're an organization that provides equitable access to technology and training. And one of the things that we do is try to eliminate the barrier to having education and this training and the technology resource. I like to think of us as the technology version of the food bank. We eliminate barriers. We provide the technology because this is essential as food right now. We've seen that all of the things that our kids are doing within education is involving how digitally skilled our adult learners are, how the parents are, and how connected they are to that. And the student is actually going to be intertwined with the jobs of tomorrow. That's 90% of the jobs in Georgia right now are involved that you got to have digital skills.
Yeah.
And it's going to grow even further. And so Inspiredu, we come in at the basic level to see how we can provide this technology resource, but also how we can train you, because it's almost like fishing. We want you to actually know how to fish. You teach people how to fish, then they're good. Mm-hmm. It's not always good to just do a bunch of handouts. What you want to do is educate our community and being able to make sure that they get the education, they have the resource. Now they can go and they can obtain other resources that are available. And we at Inspiredu come in at the basic level so that we can teach you the value of adopting broadband. I'm standing right now in our flagship lift zone, which is it's powered by Comcast, which is a sort of internet location that you can come in, connect, and go in and take training classes. You can utilize the Lift Zone is like a computer lab to the community. That's something that's been missing through the years, is a place for folks to go. Libraries are there, people can go to those things, but we're creating this space here where not just you're getting connected, but we put a lot of information about technology resources and trainings that are available to you, that our community partners and Inspiredu is providing. We're working very hard to eliminate the barrier. To answer the call of tomorrow is being able to make sure we educate our community today. And what we're doing is so important and essential that we are seeing growth in this area, and seeing a lot of our corporate partners are saying, look, we want to really support your work because we believe in education and career success.
So let me ask you, I got two questions. One is the easy one, one's the hard one. The easy one is, give us a success story or a case study or something to where your Inspiredu came in and provided this or that or whatever the case may be. Give us one of your favorite success stories of Inspiredu. That's the first question. Second question is, you mentioned that you are in a facility that is, you've partnered with Comcast. You've mentioned that you're nonprofit. I'm assuming in addition to partners, you are also getting grants.
Yes.
Explain to us or give us a breakdown of how these recent executive orders and all of this is coming, all of the new news is coming from this new establishment, this new United States administration, presidential administration. How does that affect nonprofits who are, for lack of a better term, invested in bringing everybody up, as far as making sure we are equal, make sure we have diverse education, and make sure we are also including everybody? I'm trying not to use the words, but how does that news affect nonprofits, specifically nonprofits like yours that are in the community trying to, get us at the seat at the table, for lack of a better term?
Okay. So going with the story. One of the stories we had recently was a lady. Her name was Phyllis. She was displaced. She was homeless, and she was trying to figure out a way to kind of lift herself up. And Rob, you mentioned about God's work. This is how God works in mysterious ways, is that she was displaced. She was sitting down there, and she did not know how to go and where to turn. And so she walked in the rain. As a matter of fact, let me go back to how I met Phyllis. Phyllis actually came in one day, and we were doing the help desk. And I was just sitting there fighting over my computer because I couldn't get it to act right. I was like, what is going on? Why is this thing acting up? And Phyllis said, she leaned over and said, she came in, sat down, leaned over and said, "You all changed my life." And I was like, I paused and I said, well, what do you mean? What do we do? Thank you. She said, "You changed my life. I was homeless, and I walked up here in the rain, and you all were having a class, and I came in and I registered and I took the class. And now because of taking that class, I was able to connect with my caseworker, and I'm taking classes online, and I have a job, and I can go out here and I can now start to provide for myself." And it changed my life, because all of the stories that you hear when people are displaced is not them deserving it. It's that sometimes you have life circumstances that knock you down, and it's organizations like ours that's supposed to lift back up. We're never supposed to put our foot on the ground. That's no different than Jesus coming in there and seeing all these folks do this money and table and turning it over. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to provide a beacon for people to be able to come here and see that hope is always sitting around the corner. Inspiredu and what we do is essential. It's not about money. I like to call, we don't fundraise, we friend raise. It's time to stop putting funds in front of friends. These are our friends, our siblings. You slit our wrists, our blood color is the same. We should make sure that we're lifting people up and educate them. Education should not cost these folks any money. They should be able to come in here and get this training and go out there. Now, We can't control the journey of life. That's between them and the good Lord. But what we can do is that we can have one act of random kindness to try to change a person's trajectory. We do have that control. And that's the thing that we do here. And that success story sticks with me. And Phyllis, she actually called me today. She was telling me that her sister, she wanted to connect me with her sister because she has an organization and want to connect the dots. And I always believe in connecting the dots with folks and talking to people. You never get so important to where you feel like, well, I don't want to talk to nobody. Life can knock you off of that horse as fast as you got on it. And what we want to do is make sure that people understand that we're here to serve the community. And going to the second point, we knew a lot of these things that was going to come with in January was going to come swiftly. The executive orders are not as much of a surprise to me because we have to be able to respond to the community. And Inspiredu is driven by the community. What happens at the government and all those things should never, ever, ever decide the fate of a nonprofit. The essential nature of a nonprofit is to be an essential service. And we have to make sure that we're talking to the people, not depending on those, I like to call government funding stimulus injections. And sometimes those things happen in a way that can help you lift you up. But when you start leaning so much of that in that direction, you underestimate the changes that come about and it rocks your world. And what you have to do as a nonprofit is make sure that you're speaking to the people. You're speaking to the ones who can listen and help you to be able to see that your essential service that you're coming in and you're doing, you're going to weather that storm. Now, we all want government funding to stay consistent and not have any trouble. That's just not going to be the way of the world. We have too many personalities that get caught up in that, and it changes the trajectory of a nonprofit, or it changes the whole community. But if we stay true by talking to the people in the grassroots, because those are things that have always been there. If you're speaking to those folks, the 5, the 10, the dollar donations, they start to overpower that sort of thing when it comes to fruition. So Inspiredu, I have not been really looking at that, even though I know it's rocking not just our world, it's rocking a few other nonprofits sort of worlds, and we're looking at all of the funding priorities, making sure that the initiatives are not slowing down. But we cannot forget that we have to talk to the people, even the people that are sitting there in these positions at these companies, that even some of these folks that are sitting in these powerful political positions. We have to continue to have those conversations and be vigilant, because I go back to the civil rights movement. There wasn't a whole lot of money going around through that. They were marching. And when you have that sort of moment where you're being, pushed in places, it's time to get up and march. It's time to go talk to people. It's time to get door to door. And it's time to really say, hey, look, we'll take that 50 cents you got sitting in that jar if that's something you want to donate to us. We turn those things into monumental changes. It's not going to be that we're sitting here having the government rescue us from all of that. That's not what it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be that the government is depending on us to change the society, not them changing it. So we're not going to let them change a lot of our motive. We're going to stay true to our missions, and that's what we do.
Well, let me ask you a quick follow-up, because I appreciate that. And that is an awesome mindset, I think, for any organization to have. But you are not a bad fundraiser at all. I took a look at your 2024 impact report, and you've been able to do some impressive things around fundraising with Truist, with Comcast, with a lot of other entities. Give us a little game as it relates to that, because I'm sure there are some people listening who are startup founders who are raising money, who are, thinking about maybe starting a nonprofit, who want to start raising money. Give us a little bit of game on how you've been so successful with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were part of a national nonprofit. I think you said at the beginning we were, part of that national nonprofit. Well, the story is that we had to satisfy what we needed to do with that nonprofit before we actually spun out. So we started out with zero, and I kind of knew that. I kind of knew that we didn't have any money because you got to satisfy what you were going to do with them before we actually moved over to Inspiredu. And so it was unheard of to spin out during the midst of a crisis because it's hard to fundraise when you've got a crisis of the pandemic hitting us. We were still having to fundraise for the other, but then we had the new entity that was coming. But what I always knew, and I called it our Forrest Gump moment, because Lieutenant Dan was coming down off Crow's Nest and asked Forrest, "Where's this God of yours?" Because we were in the midst of that type of storm with COVID. But what I remember was that we needed to stay close to the people. We needed to talk to the people. And I remember telling my team, what I want you to do is go down there and shrimp. I want you to go down there and see how we can help people, because our mission is going to be our marketing. Our help is going to be what we're going to speak loudly for. I've been through these things. And so, as I mentioned to nonprofits, when they ask me, how did y'all do that sort of thing? How did y'all build up? Is because I've been doing this for over 18 years, all the way back. And what I do know is that you have to make sure that your impact and your mission is addressing the needs within the community. So don't start nothing just to start something. Because if you look at it just because you want to get a 501c3 number, you're going in it and you're going into it for the wrong reasons. Go into it knowing that you have some sort of impact that's critical and needed within the community. I always try to say, get some feedback before you start it. Find out for some folks. Sometimes feedback is hard. No one likes the red pen, but you go in, but it will help you to really get the sauce that you're looking for. Like you mentioned, our impact reports. If you look at our impact reports, it's evolved over the years, but it's due to the mission that we wanted to drive in.
Right.
So we knew that people were going to need technology. We knew they were going to need training. We knew that we were going to be the technology version of that, the technology version of the food bank. And what we wanted to do was hone in that impact so that as we're building our nonprofit, we were building it and addressing the needs, partnering with the right individuals, the right organizations. We took that impact. And Stephanie, we used that data to help us make informed decisions. It's just like, you're not going to go buy a whole bunch of stuff for your home if you don't know you don't need it. So you need to go and make sure that your data is helping you to make informed decisions, and you take that to those sort of funders, because one of the things they're going to look at is whether or not you've assessed your program adequately.
Right.
And if you have not assessed your program and your outcomes don't match up what you're doing, then you're going to be so tongue twisted that you're not going to be able to make an ask or get anybody to get behind you. And what you want to do is use that to make those informed decisions, get you the sort of framework so that you can start writing grants. I think the craziest thing I done heard is that, I want to get a nonprofit and then I'm fixing to start cranking out some grants. It's like, no, you can't start doing that, because you're gonna overpromise and underdeliver, and then I'm gonna see you on the 6 o'clock news for embezzlement if you get it. But you don't have no real trajectory. What you got to do is make sure you line your stuff up the right way. And we did at Inspiredu use that platform of our programming, what we've done, what's successful, what the community needed, line that up to get impact and data. And then we were able to report out and go out and start building that funding mechanism. And it started with the little ones, and it started, building up to the large ones. And so then that's what you see today. You see an organic build, not on government funding, but on the companies, because those companies started out little. I remember the checks when they first started out. It was not as big as you're seeing now. The reason why is because if your impact and your data flows and you got a good line of sight, you can grow those relationships. You steward that, and that takes you to this whole other place where you can go in and make the larger ask, make the actual, transformation happen so that you can renovate a facility, so that you can speak to what you're doing within the community. That's what churches do. Churches do the same thing. They build up within the community, and eventually you start to see that organic growth turns into missions, and they're able to do outreach. In Inspiredu, we're not a church. I'll make no mistake. I ain't trying to say that, but what we are a nonprofit that has organically built in that same way so that we can be able to touch the community in the way that it's supposed to be touched.
So, Richard, before we let you get out of here, I kind of want to go back to Inspiredu's core mission of basically digital literacy and digital access with Georgia's most marginalized folks. And it kind of reminds me, you talked about Phyllis. I was thinking of, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about a story here that happened in Columbus, Ohio. And this is back during the middle of the pandemic. And there was, I believe it was a Taco Bell, where every day during the day, these two little girls would just be going and sitting on the curb right across from the drive-through at a Taco Bell here in Columbus. And the workers are like, why are these girls just coming in? They're not coming in the store. They're literally just sitting on the curb or sitting on a bench that is right across from the drive-through every single day during the week. And what it was that they didn't have internet access at home. So they had to go to get the free Wi-Fi that the Taco Bell supplied. And it wasn't until someone came out and actually figured it out. And if I remember the story correctly, that person ended up building a program to where they started providing access, internet access at community centers and parks and this and that and the other, to where the kids, here in Columbus could literally just go to the park with their laptop, and they had Wi-Fi set up at the park so they could get set up. And I say that to say that I think that a lot of people who listen to the show, and some definitely don't, but many don't. It's like, it's expensive to have internet access. It's expensive to have a tablet or to have a computer or something that you can even get onto the internet with. So when I said to you in agreement, I mean, you guys are doing the Lord's work. You're literally taking this issue that a lot of people just don't see, because we just think everybody just has internet access. Everybody has a tablet at home. Everybody has a laptop. That is absolutely not the case. We say have a laptop at home. A lot of people that I'm guessing you deal with, they don't actually have homes. They might be displaced right now. So it is very difficult for them to actually get in front of a computer to do things, to get in front of a computer to take classes, to actually have internet access to take those classes. So I just wanted, like I said, in the time that you have left, if you could just kind of talk about that core mission and bouncing off of what Terrance is saying, maybe another story of just how Inspiredu is helping out those folks right there, at the ground level of, we're going to get you some access so you can get online and do what you need to do. Yeah.
And I totally agree with being able to make sure that access is there for folks. And we evolved our mission even more than where it was, because we were serving underserved youth and their families in the communities. That was our previous mission. So the mission now has evolved. It evolved to underserved learners of all ages to get the digital skills needed for education and career success. We have seen the impact of the pandemic when it comes to seniors. Seniors are taking our courses now because Social Security is just not cutting it. They need to find other ways that they can either supplement or try to find a way to educate themselves so that they can access resources to get discounts on prescriptions. All of that's now in play. And we're trying to really address that from a connectivity point. Our partnerships, we partner with with organizations like the Atlanta Housing Authority. They have a senior population that they're trying to get tooled, because they've got to get this training under their belt, because a lot of the things that you're going to try to do with Medicare and Medicaid, I know there's political footballs with some of those things, but right now they're still around, and you have to access those resources online.
And telehealth for seniors is huge.
Yeah. We just did a telemedicine pilot here within the facility, and we had seniors in here, and they were asking questions about the prescriptions and how is this telemedicine? Is this something that we're going to have to get ready for? And that's the question. The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. There's going to be more movement into some of these things. And going back to sort of the connectivity point, we had a domestic violence situation where a woman and her children, they were in a dark situation, And we were here late one evening, and she drove up in the van, and she was like, I know y'all are not doing classes tonight, but we received a laptop device and training. We went through your workshop, but we need the internet. And this was at 8 o'clock at night. Everything else is closed. Do you think we can use your Wi-Fi? And I said, absolutely. So she came in to use the Wi-Fi because she had to communicate. She was communicating on the cell phone with her caseworker, but she needed to go and apply to be at a shelter because it was online. And so she didn't have that sort of resource. So she was here. We had snacks for the kids because the kids were young, and they were kind of needing, they needed to know that there was a happy place. And so they came here, and she used the internet to talk to, as she was talking with her caseworker, she was sending emails and applying and things like that. And so that's what you're there for. All I could think about after that night is that if we were not here and we didn't have a lift zone, then she wouldn't have been able to do this little thing. She would have had to ride around trying to figure out if she could connect at McDonald's, connect at, all these other places. We see these places out here. There's fast food places all over the place, but that don't mean that everybody's got a seat at the table. We still got people hungry in this place. Yeah. Just because we got all this broadband and we still got work to do in that area, but it's not everywhere. And what we want to do is see how we can get people connected. And it's those situations that happen that make Inspiredu be known as, hey, we're a good friend to them. We were on the Kelly Clarkson show, and they nominate us as one of the finalists for the Good Neighbor of the Year. We've been a Good Neighbor of the Year forever to the community. And we're going to continue outside of just being nominated for the show, because it's folks like that and her children. And they come in here and they felt at home and they were using the internet. And man, I ain't care. I told them I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nowhere else to go. If y'all need to stay to midnight, I ain't in no hurry. Ain't nobody sitting at home waiting for me to pick them up or something. Everybody I got in my household can drive. Go ahead and use the internet. They were able to get what they need. And the lady, she was very appreciative, and she drove off. And I can remember I had one other team member there. I said, we have to make sure that we build this so that people like that and like her have a place that hope is not far away. They need that. And that's what our charge is. Inspiredu has a divine nature to it, because this was already preordained that she was going to come back here to use the internet before we even knew it. The good Lord has that design, and this is the reason why we're here.
Well, to wrap it up, I want to ask, number one, what are you excited about for Inspiredu to come, and how can people sort of come alongside and help you to further that mission?
Yeah, so I am very excited about Inspiredu's evolution and seeing how we've been able to, build this flagship lift zone. This is the first flagship lift zone in partnership with Comcast in the
United States.
First of many. This is the first. We're the first in the United States of America, and we're very happy about that. This flagship lift zone is a huge accomplishment, but we want to be able to make sure that we're continuing to do this work. We've done partnerships throughout the state of Georgia. We're partnered in Savannah. We're partnered in Jasper County. We're going to be partnering in Augusta. What we want to do is really plant the seeds around digital literacy and digital skilling, so that our community knows that we're in places where they can come get this training. Because sometimes the cost of living in Atlanta is getting so absorbent that it's pushing some of our marginalized community, our vulnerable community, out. It's pushing them in some of these places. So Inspiredu's charge is making sure that we're doing programming in some of these places so that they can still access this resource. And I'm excited to know that we're going to be doing this work in these buckets around the state. And vision long term, what we're going to do is have what we call digital hubs around the state of Georgia, where people can come with no barrier. They can access this technology resource, because without the barrier there, this is the pipeline to get to those colleges and universities and tech schools. They got to start somewhere. and we can be that first place that people can kind of plant that seed of education. And Inspiredu is going to do that over the next couple of years. You're going to hear a lot of great stuff out of us, and we're going to keep seeing how we can drive home that we're essential service. And if you really want to reach us, please follow us on our social media. Go to iuatl.org, follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn. We're on Meta, we're on X, and I heard Blue Sky. That is all in the plan. So we're going to make sure Black Sky. The thing about it, we want to make sure that we're on these social channels to have people access and know what we're doing and really get connected. We're not there for any politics or anything like that. We're there to make sure that we're educating the community. And so we're going to be there, and we're going to put out the word that we're doing this training, we're providing this resource, and we want to continue to do that.
Richard, we know that you are a nonprofit, that donations, come in and help you do the good work that you're doing. How can our listeners, where's the one place they should go if they want to support Inspiredu financially?
So we would ask for you to go to iuatl.org/donate. That's www.iuatl.org/donate. Please, we've got a number of different ways you can support us. We need we call it our License to Learn campaign, where we license a laptop for $12. You can license a laptop for an under-resourced individual, student, adult. You can provide that. And that's not anything. Look, let me tell you something. We spend that on some of this streaming service that we do. Please, $12 can license a device so that we can be able to keep building on this momentum. So go to iuatl.org/donate. Please, we're asking for your support. We take credit card, ACH, you name it. We want to be able to provide our community the resource that it deserves.
Fantastic. Richard Hicks, thank you so much for being on the Tech John today. This was just such an inspiring conversation, and you are out here doing the work, and we're happy that we could do our small part to shine a spotlight on what you're doing, and support you in whatever way you can, and come back anytime.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you all are doing and keeping the conversation going, because you're helping us to really make this community stronger.
It was an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you for doing, like I said, you're doing the Lord's work. I really appreciate what you're doing. And I personally, will be trying to support some laptops, sponsoring some laptops for some folks.
Absolutely.
So Richard, once again, thank you so much for coming on, and we will talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Yo, that was awesome.
Listen, like you said, he's doing the work. Doing the work, man. Love it.
He's definitely doing the work. So
I have to tell you the quick story about how I have found Richard. So I am working with and I don't know, Terrance, I don't know if you know her, but a young woman named Whitney Walker. She lives in Atlanta. She does digital marketing. And I've been working with her for probably close to a year now. She's the one that got my newsletter set up. Go to my website, sign up for my newsletter. But she got my newsletter set up. She does she was helping me with some Facebook ads at one point, back when I relaunched my book and everything. But she's been phenomenal. And we talk probably once or twice a month about strategy and whatever. And, we were on our meeting last week, and she's like, "Oh, I need to hook you up with one of my other clients, Inspiredu. They're doing all this great stuff in Atlanta, with computers and blah, blah. There might be some synergy there." And, she did a little email intro with me and Richard and their marketing person, whose name is also Franchesca, coincidentally. And I hopped on a Zoom with Franchesca, chopped it up a little bit. I was kind of thinking about what I could do with them, how I could collaborate with my book and whatever. But she was like, "We would love if Richard could be a guest on your podcast." And I was like, "Bet, say less." I was like, that we can make that happen really easily. So shout out to Whitney Walker, who facilitated this whole thing and was able to make this connection, because he was really great, and I love the mission of that organization.
We may not have the Richard Clarkson, but we're gonna put this all over the socials.
That's right.
Tomorrow in the end of this week, because that was awesome. But y'all, before we get to the end of the show, I do want to let folks know that we have a couple of new patrons this week. So we want to give our shout outs and our flowers first off to Angela M, who is supporting us, and also Craig with a K has become a supporter. So we appreciate you. We want to give y'all's flowers, and so happy to have you here supporting the show so we can bring this tech to you the way that we bring it to you. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
We're not doing our spotlight. It's the last day of it's the last day of Black History Month.
That's why I got wonderful co-hosts, because y'all, this is 2 weeks in a row you didn't let me slip.
Listen.
You didn't let me slip. So yes, we
said
absolutely
Black
have
History
a
Month.
spotlight.
We doing one every week, and
I even asked you if you had one prepped up. He's like, yes, I got you, and I still forgot. So yes, please, let's do this spotlight, and let's talk about one Mr. Mark Hanna.
Mark Hanna, electrical engineer and computer graphics designer, Mark Regis Hanna was born on October 13th, 1956 in Chicago, Illinois, to Huber and Edith Hanna. He attended the Illinois Institute of Technology with funding from a scholarship awarded by AT&T's Bell Laboratories. Hanna received his BS degree in electrical engineering in 1977 before going on to Stanford University, where he obtained his MS degree in 1978 and his PhD in 1985. In 1982, Hanna co-founded Silicon Graphics with Jim Clark and 5 others, a company that went on to be well known for its computer graphics technology. In 1986, he was named the company's principal scientist for the creation of computer programs like Personal Iris, Indigo, Indigo 2, and Indie Graphics that were used to create effects for movies like Jurassic Park, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Hunt for Red October, and Field of Dreams. George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic used Silicon Graphics technology to create Terminator 2. Hanna's programs have also been used to create television commercials and the opening introduction for Monday Night Football. In addition, the company's technology was used in engineering research and for military applications. Hanna is a partial owner of Rondo Bay, a construction company in Oakland, California. Since 1994, Hanna has sat on the board of directors for Magic Edge. He has also been profiled in Ebony Magazine, Electronics Magazine, Forbes, and PC Magazine. And in addition, Hanna has received the Professional Achievement Award from the Illinois Institute of Technology and the National Technical Association. Mark Hanna, doing big things in the graphics space. I thought that was cool. I was like, Jurassic Park. I mean, Terminator 2. Come on.
It's amazing what those SGI machines could do back in the day. I actually, one of my first real tech jobs back in the late 90s, we actually had a Silicon Graphics machine for some of the graphics that we were doing. And what's crazy is that you talk about Jurassic Park and, Terminator and all the kind of stuff they could do. You can do that stuff on a phone today. It's crazy where we are today. You can literally talk to your phone and tell it to create you some stuff that looks halfway as decent as what that stuff did. But yeah, Mark Hanna did not know that it was a bruh that was behind Silicon Graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So another good one. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or head to my website at StephanieHumphrey.com and sign up for my newsletter.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN on all the things. So come holler at us however you holler until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.